Welcome, Grief Nation. I have a very special guest with me today, and her name is Cathy Cheshire. She was actually my trainer for Master Grief Coaching, and I just want to welcome her today. Hello, Cathy.
Hi, Miami. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I am amazing also.
I'm so glad that you're here with us to share your story, your knowledge, and everything there is to know about our topic today, which is how to heal by how to heal by being your own grief expert. So, how can one heal by becoming a grief expert, and then share your personal grief journey with us?
I think what is so important and what I want to be sure to convey today is there's so much information out there about grief. And once I started actually to learn that grief experts, those academic, world-renowned people who do it as a career, disagree, I realized I should decide what information works best for me. When I did that, things miraculously changed. My husband and I lost our only two children, one at age 16 in an accident, one at age 29 from a blood clot. And after the first loss, I dwelled in darkness for a very long time. And it was not easy to figure out or even want to at first to heal or know that it was possible. So that's my other thing to relay is it is absolutely, that's one thing all grief experts agree on. It is absolutely possible to heal. And I believe, and what I passionately work to communicate to those struggling with grief is look for information, use what works for you. After our first son died, it took me time to figure out what worked. But when I applied that, when our second son died, the experience was completely different. The pain was the same, but I had tools. I got back to living in a very short period of time, and my husband and I love our life, and I think that's possible for anyone who's especially experienced profound loss to get back to loving life again. It's possible.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And when I was kind of guided, looking for some help, even finding you, that was during my journey, that was a way that I could discover how to start accepting and understanding why I was going through these different things. And just finding you was just, I have chill bumps just even thinking about it. On my journey of healing, because like you said, we can heal ourselves from this. So can you give me an example of the grief experts, the disagreeing between the grief expert? No, I'm sorry, let me stop. Can you give me an example of where grief experts disagree?
Yes, there's some major areas. One is that people need to go seek help. So that's one issue I come across is our culture sometimes gives people the idea that your life is over, and that just doesn't have to be true. Another big one is grief educators say that the world-renowned 5 stages of grief, anger, denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance, are ineffective because they were only written about in studying the dying, which was done by psychiatrist Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and David Kessler. Dr. Ross died in 2004, and David Kessler carries on their work. It was confusing to me when I come across grief experts saying this is ineffective because it was effective for me and so many others.
Yeah.
So if you read the book, it even explains, it's called On Grief and Grieving. It's a best-selling book that have helped so many people. And they explain in there, like grief educators will say, the stages aren't linear. Well, Dr. Ross and David Kessler already say they're not linear. And they're helpful because I experienced all of those stages.
Yeah.
And it can be very confusing when you're angry or you're depressed in relationship to loss. So I don't think it serves grievers at all for any of these wonderful, and I love and value anyone who wants to do work to support grievers, but I don't think it's a good or serves grievers to put down any work, because the objective is find what works for you.
Absolutely.
David Kessler continues this work, and it hugely helps me, and I completely see why he is loved by so many. So take in information where you're struggling, use what works for you. That is how I believe we can best heal.
Absolutely, Cathy, because that's, in your training, you teach that a lot. And that is what actually helped me continue to shift through, even though, like you said, you may not go through the stages chronologically, but still, yet you do experience each of them. Because there's so many myths about how many they are, but for me, it was the 5. So I'm glad we're here talking today, and actually stating that you will go through these stages, but everybody has their own journey. But at least if there was information, what I like about the 5 stages of grief, there was some information out there for me to at least apply to my situation so that I can understand and actually know that, okay, well, this is how I'm feeling. I could relate whatever I was feeling that day back to the stages of grief, and, doing my own research. And of course, with your training, I was able to make it through, because we are able to heal ourselves, right? That's what we keep saying. And it's absolutely true. How has your life-altering loss experience affected your life?
Whew. In amazing ways that I never would have dreamed of. I feel like it eventually propelled me to truly living. I did not know how robotic I was, how much fear I had. I was doing my best, moving along, but when you lose a child or a loved one, a parent, a sibling, someone who brings so much love into your life,
Yeah.
it really can motivate you to do things different in life. Everything that I had used up into my 16-year-old dying didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't be that perfectionist. I needed more joy and love in my life, because I didn't have that love with my son physically.
Right.
I do believe and still can feel him now in spirit, but it really brought me to where I cherish love. I do what I love. I honor myself. I take care of myself. And I'm living in a way that I never dreamed I would. There are lessons in loss if you choose to see them. And that's what I try to focus on.
Absolutely. Is there any statistical data that's out there that maybe is there any statistical data out there that maybe that my viewers don't know about or haven't heard? Is there anything that you've heard recently, or just know that can help us?
That's another area where grief experts, especially academics and world-renowned experts, disagree. On an academic level, it's difficult to do a scientific study with grief. Mm-hmm. Because you're needing to approach people after a disaster. There were some research studies done after 9/11. And even though there are statistics which say more people are naturally resilient after loss, instead of what I had the impression is that anyone who goes through a profound loss, isn't going to have a great life. You're just doomed. Well, the studies showed different. People who were asked after traumatic things like 9/11 felt that they had gone on to live a wonderful life in their own way. And some experts will say, well, you can't put grieving into statistics. So again, this is one where people can decide for themselves.
Absolutely.
I believe, being on the other side, you want to learn. If you want to heal, you want to learn from people who have healed.
Yes.
So I believe that we can heal, but we have to want to.
Right.
We have to want to, and then we have to make those choices that are going to get us there.
Absolutely. So explain to our listeners what grief coaching is and why clients should seek for this type of support or training.
When I was researching, never dreaming I would be a grief coach, let alone teach coaches, when I was researching information and found there were a lot of areas of agreement and disagreement, I also got certified as a life coach.
Uh-huh.
And life coaching works under the premise that we are born knowing what's best for us,
Right.
but we get downloaded ideas from other people, oftentimes our family, which happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
that we're not our best expert, we're not good enough, we are doomed, all this negative stuff that becomes self-talk.
Yeah.
It's not true. Coaching goes off of the premise that we are our own best experts. So a coach doesn't teach ABC 1, 2, 3, and there's a lot of great programs out there. But we guide a person grieving who wants to heal wholeheartedly. Right. We guide them in removing those limiting beliefs and working with them side by side to determine what their healing journey is going to look like.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense, because I noticed when I first started, trying to get out there and be a grief coach, and having the participation of someone that says that they want to do it, but they're, still kind of stuck in that, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to change my life, but still they're stuck in the grief stages. How do you feel about where they are as becoming a grief coach, a master grief coach to a client, and in those stages where they're just not willing to be guided at that point? What's your recommendation to still try to assist people during that time?
Never, ever underestimate the power of planting a seed.
Amen.
I love how Louise Hay says, you cannot fix people. You cannot force them into healing. Yeah. They have to be ready, and they have to do it themselves, or it won't work, it won't stick. They will go right back to where they were. So I've come to a space where I just love and bless everybody wherever they are on their journey. And I am here for communicating that. I am here for those who are gung-ho, ready to be guided to what information is going to help them the most.
All right. So tell us about your training and the coaching certification program.
Which, again, I never dreamed I would be doing. I feel led to this.
Yeah.
I love the book by Authentic Happiness by Dr. Seligman. And he says that true happiness is not momentary pleasures. It is using your individual strength to enhance your life and to help others. Yeah. That brings meaning and long-term happiness into your life, and that's what this journey has brought me to. When I saw how many people were struggling, when I was doing grief coaching and I started to have people ask me, how, I'm helping people already anyways, and I don't feel confident, I just felt led to create this program. There aren't a lot of grief coach training programs out there, so I wanted something to be affordable. So I made it self-study. I created 3 modules, one on grief, one on coaching, one on business. People can read those modules individually. And then I wanted to do a certification program based on the grief and coaching, where I spend 7 hours one-on-one through video chat or phone, and I ask open-ended questions, and we have a discussion about the information. So that someone who says they're certified, that's me saying I have individually acknowledged their skills.
Absolutely.
And whether that's someone who's an emergency worker, clergy, someone who runs a beauty shop. So many people want to know how to support their loved ones, people that they're maybe in their job. There's someone who runs an elder care facility. They want to know, they want better tools. They want to
Yeah.
feel more confident about helping people. And I think a lot of times people don't help because they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do, and they fear making it worse. So this
Absolutely.
program can teach anybody, and we will all be grievers at some point or the other in our life.
That's the
Because
truth.
loss isn't just loss of a person, it's any major change in your life.
Absolutely. What successes from this program have you had?
I love hearing people, the most common thing those I train
Mm-hmm.
say is that they kind of knew some of the information, but the training ties it all together.
Yeah.
And I love in just coaching somebody struggling with grief, I love it when I see they realize they don't need to keep coming back to me. They're empowered themselves. They get it. They get what they need to do in order to deal with anything that comes along in their life, their current struggles, anything. Fear is hugely removed. I
Yeah.
have goosebumps all over my body.
Mm-hmm.
Fear leaves when we know we have the power to create a wonderful life.
Wow, Cathy, that's just so amazing. Well, I know for me, training and going through your program, it has significantly given me the understanding of how to process the grief, understanding it, the tool, all the tools that I need. I jump back and forth in my modules all the time, just because I just want to make sure, in understanding if this is how I'm feeling today or have something triggered that, definitely making sure that I'm using the correct lingo to others that are wanting to learn this, because I'm just hoping for one day that there's just a whole, we have a whole group of us, we have our own community. That's what my prayer is, that we have a community of, like you said, there's so many people that can come in this work. Just like you're saying, a salon owner, she's talking to somebody all day about their issues, and that will be a perfect candidate for this. Anyone that's willing to learn and wanting to help others through grief. I think your program is amazing. I'm so blessed that God led me to you, and I'm just so excited for where you're going. Can you give me just one example of a memory that your loved one in spirit, and how their spirit is still with you?
The story that I'd love to share is 2 months before my 16-year-old son died, immediately in a car accident, I read a book by Wayne Dyer. He is a loved motivational speaker and author.
Yes.
The book is called Inspiration, and in it he talked about a friend of his, a minister who loved butterflies. And after that minister died, butterflies were everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
After my son died, butterflies and birds were everywhere. I had an office window, one of my walls was a window looking outside, and butterflies, and sometimes it would worry me because birds would tap up against the window.
Wow.
And to be honest, I felt a little angry. I didn't want the birds and butterflies. I wanted my son.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew, my soul knew, that was that message saying everything is okay. And to this day, at the most amazing moments, when maybe I'm struggling inside or something difficult happens, a butterfly will appear.
Aww.
And it has the most calming
Yes.
effect on me. More now even then, when there were so many of them.
Uh-huh.
And I think that often, and I love in this journey I'm now in the grief world, hearing all these other stories. I think if we pay attention, those signs are definitely there.
Absolutely. Yes, they are. I feel Taiki with me all the time. I feel my father with me too, my sister. So absolutely, I totally agree. So what's up next for you, girl? I know you're always so busy. What's coming up next for Master Grief Coach Cathy?
I am looking at training trainers. The response has been so wonderful without even doing a lot of communication about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just know this can really grow.
Yes.
And so I'm paying attention to, when I'm training, I'm paying attention to those details to put those in a process to be able to train the trainer.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting to think. I really appreciate you sharing your experience. And it has been wonderful to meet you now, not only as a grief colleague, but also as a friend.
Yes.
I think people who've gone through loss can be some of the most interesting, loving, amazing people that adds to healing in your life.
Yeah.
So I like to train trainers.
All right. And I hear that you have this cruise coming up. Can you tell us about the bereavement cruise?
Yes, the Bereavement Cruise is hosted by Linda Finley and Glenn Lord, and they are two grief experts who have been in the grief world, helping grievers, inspiring them, supporting them for a very long time. So they have, it's called Journeys of Hope, Healing, and Health. And it is a 7-day Caribbean cruise to Cozumel, Jamaica, and Haiti. On the days we're at sea, there's going to be a number of speakers, I think it's 17, to do different workshops on different topics. And as you know, I've already said, I so encourage people to learn from different people. You may take something from everyone. So this is great from that perspective. And what more of a healing environment than a cruise in beautiful places with lots of sunshine?
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of activities and some yoga and hands-on things to do. And I just feel honored to be a part of it. There's also going to be a Remembrance at Sea celebration of all of our loved ones who are no longer here in physical form. And some of those things are just amazing. And you can meet people that you become friends with for life.
Wow.
It can be really helpful to be with people who understand. Every grief journey is individual, but it's really helpful to be with people who can relate to what you're going through.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I'm so down for the community, for, joining forces with everyone that has had this experience of just being a part of the grief world and educating others. I'm loving this work and adding different new tools to it, which is Reiki and, more healing. And I'm just so excited about it. I love it. And, if this is where I feel like God has us, I'm all for what all is to come. So how can we reach you? And if you could just provide your website and your social media platform so that we can get more people to train.
All the information I've been talking about is at cathycheshire.com, CathyCheshire.com. There's information about the cruise, which starts March 3rd. And I wrote a book called Thriving After the Death of a Child. All of the modules, how to get certified,
Yes.
all the information and my links to social media are on that website.
Okay, great. But before I let you go, what has your attention in the grief world that you would like to see change or just give more awareness to?
I would like to make everybody aware. I am currently training the most amazing teacher who made me aware of recent legislation that has been passed to support schools.
Yes.
Putting in a trauma-informed care plan, they call it, but it's basically based on studies done by the CDC of how, which so many of us already know, trauma affects ability to learn and affects children into adulthood. So what better place to be able for them to have support than at school?
Yeah.
So the Attorney General has asked schools to create a plan.
Oh.
So I plan on reaching out to education systems and letting them know that one person, administrator, teacher, can be trained as a master grief coach and can train others and make a significant contribution to whatever plan they're working on. This is for kids. And man, if I was a kid and had something like this, it could have made all the difference in my life.
Absolutely. You and I both. I see you have your tree of love there on. I see around your neck, and I have mine on too. We're so amazing together. We
Oh my God, that's so cool. Tree of life.
yeah.
Life is worth
Love,
living.
life, harmony. Yes, yes. I'm so glad you came on today, Kathy. You know I love you. I love spending time with you. You're amazing. You've taught me so much. I just really, truly appreciate you. And I hope that you can come back another time. Maybe we can do a series of something, but I really just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I couldn't have done this without this experience with you. You've helped so many, and I just pray that this continues to grow for you and to help to continue building a community of master grief coaches. Thank you for coming.